Hello, Art 1. We are here today and we are going to finally start our clay cell. So this is very exciting. I have a few supplies here with me. I have a needle tool. I have a circle piece that I can use as a stencil. I have my lovely slip that's like yogurt. And I've got a big old bag of clay. So as you can see, the clay has just been thrown in here. A lot of times you'll come to class and this is the clay that you'll have to use. So if that is the case, we're gonna take some of our clay and we're gonna wedge it. So when you wedge, you wanna make sure that you're pushing the clay into itself, that you're not just folding it over. So when we just fold it over, you're creating more air bubbles. And the whole point of wedging clay is so you get rid of all your air bubbles. So when you wedge, you wanna try to get it into an easy shape for you to maneuver and form. And then we're gonna put it on the table, and then you're gonna be using the ends of your palms, and you're just pushing in, not folding over, but you're pushing in on itself. And as I'm pushing in on itself, I'm moving the clay. So I'm not just going in the same spot over and over again, because if I do that, you're gonna have all kinds of weird folds in the side. So to counteract that, I'm going to fold in, push in, move, push in, move it to the side, push in, move it to the side, push in, move it to the side, push in, move it to the side. This is to make sure that we get clay that doesn't have air bubbles. A way to stop this too is to throw your clay on the table. So this will help force any large air bubbles, but little air bubbles will probably still stay. Air bubbles are clay's worst enemy. In the kiln, if you have an air bubble and your clay is trying to shrink as it dries, that air doesn't have anywhere to go, so it explodes out. Explosions are not fun. They seem cool, but they're not fun in your clay. So we're gonna move on to rolling a coil. So you have your nice wedged clay, no air bubbles there. So you're gonna form it into like a cylindrical long shape in the first place, just to make it easier on yourself. I'm gonna make sure I have a nice area to work on. Make sure your table isn't wet. If you have wet table, your clay is gonna wanna stick to it, and that's not good for anyone. So when I'm rolling my clay, something that's really important is you have to get a full range of motion. If you just move your clay a little bit back and forth, it's not gonna do anything. So you must get a full range of motion as you form it. So to roll a coil, we're going to use both hands, not just one hand, because look, if we use one hand, it's a little bit more complicated. If we use two hands, we get a full range of motion, we get full movement on the clay. So if you'll notice, as I'm moving the clay, I'm moving my hands across the clay. So if we were to stay in one spot and I keep rolling, it's getting really thin in one spot and thick in another. That's not good. The whole reason we're trying to roll coils is to get a nice even area. So if that happens, it's not a big deal. We're just gonna cut part of it off, toss it to the side, and now we have another one. So if you'll notice, I'm starting with my fingertips. I am moving all the way down to the butts of my palms and all the way back. And as I'm doing this, I'm moving my hands in and out on the clay. So I do this to, once again, so I can get that full range of motion, so I can make sure that the clay is even. Also, if I don't have my full range of motion, I'm gonna get those thin parts. So you wanna make sure that your clay is nice and even, that your coil is about as even as you can get it. You wanna make sure that your coils are usually about the width of your finger. Any larger, it's gonna take a lot longer to dry. There's a bigger chance of air bubbles. So you wanna stick to about the thickness of your finger. So now that you know how to roll a coil, we're gonna move on to our project.